Yesterday, we started the Mishnah of Habab and Machteres on Daf Ayin Beis. And we focused our attention on Rashi. Rashi on the Mishnah, Dibra Maschil Ein Lo Damin. Rashi says that to appreciate this Mishnah and understand why Abab Machteres is potter from Tashlume Nezikin when he broke something, we have to invoke the famous brisa of Tana de Bechizkiah, and that's called Chayve Misel Shogigim. And the question that we raised is, why does Rashi feel compelled? We have a principle called Kimle B'Deramimine, and we only impose upon a person one onesh, and that is the more severe onesh. So what is Rashi trying to prove here that we wouldn't have known otherwise from Tana de Bechizkiah Chayve Misel Shogigim? And the answer is that if not for Tana de Bechizkiah, we would define Kimle B'Deramimine in the following way. It's a din in Bezdin as far as curtailing Bezdin or tying down their hands when they have to impose ownership. And there are various, obviously, conditions and restrictions with regard to ownership. Many halachas in ownership. But one of the halachas in ownership is Kimle B'Deramimine, that they cannot impose two onshim for the same maisa, for the same action. Even though he deserves two onshim, but the Torah says, Kimle B'Deramimine, ason yiyeh, onosh yonesh, etc., that we only could mete out the more severe punishment, but not the less severe punishment. So therefore, this would have no application to the case of Baba Machteres. We're not talking about a person in front of Bezdin. We're not talking about onshim that Bezdin are imposing on a criminal. We're talking about a burglar who has broken into someone's house. And the question is whether that burglar should pay damages or not. So Rashi wants to prove that we have the wrong definition of Kimle B'Deramimine, and Rashi proves it from Tana de Bechizkiah, because in the case of Tana de Bechizkiah, Chayve Misel Shogigim, Bezdin is not punishing anybody because he's a shogig, and yet he doesn't pay damages. So we see that Kimle B'Deramimine is not A, meaning the following possibility, namely Bezdin cannot impose two onshim, but rather it's B, and it means that he himself is patur from the lower punishment, from the lower crime, and it's what it generates a punishment, because he's chayav in a more severe punishment. So once we freed Kimle B'Deramimine of that restricted definition that it only applies to Bezdin and Onshim, meeting out punishments, now we can apply it to Baba Machteres. And in the case of Baba Machteres, the Torah says, Ein Lo Damim, and therefore he's Chayav Misa. And if that be the case, then even though Bezdin is not getting involved at this point, nevertheless the Chayav Misa itself generates a P'tur Onshim, or in this case a P'tur Tashlumin. It's a brand new, Kimle B'Deramimine is a brand new Chalos Din P'tur. So that's how we interpreted Rashi. Today, we want to discuss a Gemara in Masechet Ksubos. In Perek Nara, the third Perek on Daf Lamed, there, the Gemara quotes a machlokes about the nature of Kimle B'Deramimine. It's a machlokes Tanoim. And the issue is Chayve Krisus. Chayve Krisus, obviously, is a chiyuv misa that's premature death, if you will, that's meted out by the Bezdin Shel Mala, and it has nothing to do with Bezdin. And the question is, if he, let's say, burnt down someone's house on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, is a chiyuv kares. And Beis Din is not going to give him any punishment, but yet he burnt down someone's house, so he should be paying damages. And it's machlokes tanoim, whether in the case of Yom Kippur he does pay damages or doesn't. One Tana holds that Kimlei Rami applies even in Chayvei Krisus. And even though Beis Din is not meting out any punishment, we still have a chalos p'tur on the Tashlume Mamon based on Kimlei Rami. And the other Tana disagrees. And now we would say that their machlokas is how to define Kimlei Ramine. If you hold that the din of Kimlei Ramine applies to krisus, that means that chayvei krisus, despite the fact that it's not a chiyuv in Beis Din, and Beis Din is not meting out two punishments, nevertheless we apply the din of Kimlei Ramine. According to one man Omar, we apply Kimlei Ramine even in a case of chayvei krisus. So therefore, if we go that far and we extend Kimlei Ramine to apply according to that Tana, even in a case of chayvei krisus, it means that Kimlei Ramine is a p'tur from the chiyuv hakal. The chiyuv hachamur is mafkia and poter the chiyuv hakal. Has nothing to do with Beis Din. And the chiyuv hachamur here is chayvei krisus. And therefore we're going to apply Kimlei Ramine. However, there's another Tana. And that Tana says that we only apply Kimlei Ramine in the case of a chiyuv misa, where Beis Din is going to beat out the punishment, or a chiyuv malchus. And if it's a din in Beis Din, then it doesn't apply to chayvei krisus. Now, Rashi was assuming in the Havamina, this was bothering Rashi, that Kimlei Ramine is a din in Beis Din, and would not apply according to that Tana in a case of chayvei krisus, and therefore it shouldn't apply in the case of Bava Machteres, because the chiyuv misa in Bava Machteres is not something that's given over to Beis Din. Beis Din are not meting out a chiyuv misa to the Bava Machteres. So why is he potter from tashlumin? Again, Rashi's assumption, his premise was that Kimlei Ramine is a din in Beis Din. So what was Rashi's answer by invoking Tana de Bechizkiah in the case of Chayvei Misa Shogigin? He proves that Kimlei Ramine, as we said, is not a din in Beis Din because we're talking about Shogigin, it's a din of Chalos Din P'tur. And the Chiyuv Misa, in the case of Shogeg, meaning that action itself would generate Misa if it were done b'mezid, that itself, that chiyuv misa, which lurks in the shadows, that potential chiyuv misa, generates a p'tur for the chiyuv mammon. It's mafkia the chiyuv mammon. So it's not a din that Beis Din can't mete out two punishments, shtei rishoyos. Because even in the case of chayim misa shogigin, according to Tana Bechizkiah, we're going to apply the principle of p'tur of Kimlei Ramine, even though there's no onish misa in the case of a shogig. There's still a chalos p'tur. And that's all based on Tana Bechizkiah. And hence, we can apply the din of Kimlei Ramine to Bava Machteres, even though he was not killed, and we have him now in front of a Beis Din, and we want to make him pay for that which he damaged, he doesn't have to pay because the Kimlei Ramine is a poter of his chiyuv tashlumin, and that has nothing to do with Beis Din, and clearly Bava Machteres is not subject to a punishment in Beis Din. So that's our discussion of Rashi from yesterday. Omar Rava, we're now up to the Gemara. My taima de Machteres. Why did the Torah say that above Machteres ain't lo dam? That it's as if he has no dam, he has no neshama, he has no nefesh, and you're allowed to kill him. At the end of the day, he's a burglar. He's coming to steal whatever he's coming to steal. And there's no such thing as a chiyuv misa for theft, for gneva. Gneva doesn't generate a chiyuv misa. And the Gemara answers, this is the famous principle of Rava that underlies the whole parsha of Bava Machteres. Chazaka she'eino nemamed atzma al mamona, V'hai memer omri azilna koili apei v'lo shavikli v'koili apei k'tildale v'torah omrim bo lahargecha hashkem laharge. So the explanation of Rava is predicated on two premises. First of all, premise number one is that the Torah recognizes as a definite, clear chazaka excuse me, that a person is not going to stand on the sidelines and not try to save his mama. He almost has an instinctual, like a lunge kind of thing to protect his property. He has some expensive stuff, whether it's jewelry, whether it's hardcore currency, cold currency, whether it's paintings, whether it's antiques, whether it's anything of value. Now somebody's coming in to steal it. He's going to be Omed Kenegdo. He's going to stand and confront him. That's premise number one. Now, the burglar, premise number two, understands very well that this is going to happen. He knows that once he's going to burglarize so-and-so's house, if the Balabais is going to know about it, meaning he hears someone break into his house, the Balabais is going to confront him and stand up against him, and he's not going to sit there passively and let me steal everything. So therefore, what does the burglar do before he enters into someone's house and breaks in, knowing full well that the Balabais will, or at least likely that he will, or maybe that he will stand in front of him and confront him and oppose him? He makes a decision, even before he breaks into the house, if he stands and protects his thing, I'm going to kill him. I'm not going to let him beat me up or scare me away. I'm going to stand my ground, and that's why I'm burglarizing. I want the stuff, and I'll kill him. Now, the third premise of Rava is something that we know without Rava. The Torah allows me to kill someone who is threatening my life. And I can be makdim him, right, hashkeim lahargo, in self-defense. Yeah, the thing about Rava's chiddush here is that right now it's not self-defense. It'll only become self-defense when the Balabais confronts the Baba Machteres. But I guess what Rav is saying is that at that moment in time, when the Balabais will take advantage of his rights, his inalienable rights to protect his property, and confront the Baba Machteres, that at that moment in time, it's a situation of Bola Hargecha, because again, Rav assumes that the Baba Machteres is prepared to kill him. So therefore he has to take the initiative and defend himself before the Baba Machteres could kill him. So in the process of defending himself, if he kills the Baba Machteres, then the Torah says, Ein lo damin, because Habola Hargecha, Hashkem lahargo. What do you mean, Bola Hargecha? He's only coming in to steal. No, the answer is that at that moment that I defend my property, he's coming to kill me. That's how desperate he is to steal. Now here, I wanted to see two footnotes. You have the Gemara with the footnotes, right? So there's Yudalid and Tesvav. Okay, in Yudalid, he has a chiddush of the Ran. He says, "Lo kol haganov b'maliskein nefashos." Maybe the Ganav will turn his back and run away if he sees that he's being confronted by the Balbayis. Rabbi Mehem boy rakal is came moment v'miyamid Balbayis knegdo lo yinasu lo hargo el yanichu es hamomen v'yivrachu. So we don't understand Rashi here. That Rashi says that the Ganav, in a case of burglary above Machteres, is definitely prepared himself. If necessary, he will kill the Balabai. Maybe not. Maybe he's going to turn his back and run away. So the Ran and a few other Rishonim that he mentions here, therefore, reinterpret Rav. Shaderechu sha'odam aroeh shemenasim lignov es mamono omed lahatzilus mono ve'af muchan laroges haganov. Right, he comes out with a shotgun. He's going to kill the Ganav. Im lo yaniches kelumiyah. Umemela misha bav machteres yodea she'efsha she'balabayis yamod kenegdo lahargo valdas kenu ba shem yamod kenegdo yinase hu laroges balabayis. Not sure how that's different than Rashi, but anyway, umishum kach nechshav haganav kirodef umutal balabais lahargo. Just don't see how that's different than the way we understood Al Pi Rashi. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the Ran is adding over here. Maybe you know, I don't know. The Ran is acknowledging that maybe the Baba Machteres at some point is going to run away. He's just adding that he'll see if he could kill the Balabayas. He's willing to kill him. I don't see the big difference here. That was Yudal. Now Tesvav, he quotes the Meiri based on a Medrash Tanchuma, Shator limda din ze b'makom acher. Hainu mashin itztave Moshe tzoras hamidyonim v'kisam osom ki tzorim heim lachem hatzivu her lahaknim v'larog es hamidyonim mishum shehem menasim larog es b'nei Yisrael. Okay, so that's what we call Habala Hargacha, Hashkem Laharga. So let me read to you the language of the Ran that he's invoking here. Vaday ein kol she'ein kol haganov boim aliskei nefoshos. V'koi balabais liapi v'shokim v'monim miyad haganov lo kotule. Dilo yochal haganov lemignov lezel lenafshe. If the Ganav sees that he's being confronted by the Balabais who's about to kill him, then he may lezel lenafshe, he may just go away. Ela Balabais hu ha'omed kenegdo amanas laharok. Maybe this is the difference between Rashi and the Ran. Rashi is saying that the Baba Machteres already from the get-go prepared to kill the Balabais if need be. So really, in a sense, from Rashi's perspective, the initiative is that of the Baba Machteres. Reading Rashi again, Yodea Ganov Hazeh Shebalabais Omer al Mamono Umemar Omar Ganov Iazilnu Legabe Koi Beapoi Vikoi Katilnule. So there's a clear-cut decision up front, according to Rashi, on the part of the Bab Machteres to kill the Balabais if necessary. The Ran is saying something different. The Ran says that the Balabais is taking the initiative. In other words, it's the Balabais who decides, I'm going to kill this Baba Machteres, unless he skidoodles. And the Ran adds, Im lo yaniach lo es hakelim miyad. Right? He's only kenegdo amasla harogim lo yaniach es hakelim miyad. If he doesn't immediately respond, I'm going to kill him. It's almost like the Ran is talking about the anger, not the self-defense that the Balabais wants to protect his possessions, but more the, he's really running after the Bab Machteres. So he's got his shotgun and he wants to knock his block off. She'af al pi she'eno b'din lahargo al kach. So I guess the Ran is asking now a question. The Balabais is really not within his legal rights here. He decided, no, he really wants to kill this Baba Machteres. If the Baba Machteres as much as, lifts up a finger to confront him. That was the position of Rava here. Which I don't know if he's saying that just psychologically he's willing to save his property at any cost, even if it means killing the Bab Machteres, or it's not a psychological principle, but it's a legal right that he has. I'm not sure. But Eino the Mamid Atzmal Mamon. Haganav hu yodea zeh. Kshu omed kenegdo aliskei nefoshos hu omed. Vu hischil b'meriva. Oh, so these are the three words that the Ran is adding here. Who hiskil b'meriva. What does that mean? Again, the Ran is emphasizing chazaka eno the mamid atzmo al mamona, which is the language of Rava. And the Ganav knows that chazaka eno the mamid atzmo al mamona. Now, the Ran says, Baba Machteres hasoa kosev rodev. The Torah considers the Baba Machteres a rodev because he's coming to kill the Balabais in order to achieve his Gneva. Therefore, ain't lo domim. Again, it's not 100% clear to me how that's different than Rashi. At the end of the day, both Rashi and the Ran are saying that the Bav Machteres is well aware of the fact that Eino the Mamid Atzmal Mamono, and that the Baal Bais is going to confront him and try to kill him, and therefore he's prepared to kill the Baal Bais. Hence, the Bav Machteres becomes a Rodef. I'm just trying to think, what would we have said without the Ran? I don't know. Now, the Gemara later on, we didn't get to this, on Daf Ayin Beis and Beis is going to establish Ein lo domim bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. Now, according to everything we've said, the Baal Machteres has a din of a Rodef. So we'll do whatever we can, what's ever necessary to kill the Rodef, to neutralize him. So when you have a Rodef, it matters not whether it's Chol or Shabbos, you're going to kill the Rodef. So I don't know why the Gemara on Daf Ayin Beis and Beis tells us Ein lo domim bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. So I want to read here. He has a line, Lule Divrei Aran. Okay, so that's interesting to us. What would be a possibility without the Ran? Yitachin Lomar, Dahadi Amrinan Eino the Mamid Atzmo Mamono, Eina Kavana Diesh Chazaka B'Mitzius Bi Alma, Sha'adam Mamid Atzmo Mamono. That's the instinctual, Al-Pi psychology, we could predict and anticipate that Eino the Mamid Elahavi Chalos Din Schus. Oh, that's what we asked. Does he have rights to protect his property, even if it means he'll have to confront the Baal Machteres and knock his block off? The Yesh Baal Bais Schus Lahamid Atzmo Mamono. Uschut Zu Lahamid Atzmo Mamono. Havi Schus Kol Kach Hazaka Achmikoch Zeh Agadov Ba Almanas Largus Balabayas. Vahavi Kirodef Shemutalahargo. So what are we saying here? That we're going way beyond psychology here. And we're establishing a schus, a legal right, lahamid atzma mamono. And as a result of that legal right, the ganav becomes a rodef. Because he knows that the Baal Bayis may in fact confront him, and therefore he's prepared to kill the Baal Bayis. That makes the Baal Machteres into a rodef. If this be the case, could we differentiate between Shabbos and Chol? What does that mean? Okay, we'll grant the Baal Bayis a schus lahamid atzmo mamono, but maybe we'll only grant him that schus on a weekday, but not on Shabbos. Because as a result of this schus, there'll be chil Shabbos. know exactly what he means here by Chil Shabbos. I assume he means the malach of Netilas Neshama. That's missing over here. In any event, we have a chiddush in the Gemara that even on Shabbos, the Baal Bais is granted that schus to protect his mammon. Memela, the Gana becomes a rodef, and you're allowed to kill him even on Shabbos. Okay, let's go on to the Gemara. Omar Rav, haba b'machteres v'not al kelim v'yotza poter. Wow. Rav is saying not only if he breaks the kelim, but rather he steals the kelim, he doesn't have to pay for the kelim, or he doesn't have to even return the kelim. That's a pella. He's like a chote niskar over here, by burglarizing someone. If he succeeds and he gets out, he doesn't have to pay and return that which he stole. I don't get it. He could steal the Mona Lisa and he doesn't have to pay for it. He doesn't have to return it. My timer. Vidomim knanhu. He acquired ownership over these kelim. Why? Because at the time that he took the kelim, he was above a machteres, and it was hutar domo, and the balabayas cannot be tovea him to return that which he stole. Oh my gosh. My Rava Mistabra Milsit the Rav Bisha Shiber. The lesnu. So if the Ganav destroyed the kelim that he stole, they're not in existence anymore, and he cannot return them. And now the Baal Bais is suing him to pay the Tmei Chefetz, but since at the time of his Geneva he was Chayiv Misa, therefore he doesn't have to. He's not Chayiv in Tashlum for that hour. Avol, but if he didn't steal, he didn't break the kelim, he just stole them. Not al osa me'atzmo, ve'madayin kayomim, etzel, they're still alive and well. Lo, he shouldn't be pot, he's chayiv to be meshiv lebaleh. So he writes here, as you'll see, Kol zman she'akelim kayomim, heim adayin shayachim lebaleim ve'hem kepikadon b'yad haganav. V'yein haganav niftar mechiv hashava machmas chiv misa shoyelov. I think he's saying that there's an ongoing chiyuv of a heshiv zakzela. In the case of domim, so that chiyuv was clinched while he was stealing it. And while he was stealing it, he cannot be chayav because he was chayav misa at that point. But if the object is still intact, then there's an ongoing chiyuv of hashavas. I mean, you can call it like a pikadon. It's in the hands of the ganav as a pikadon. He says, Rashi v'Tosas Kosvu she'rova sover she'af im haganav shiber sakelim achar sheyotza me'amachteres. Wow. He only broke it after he's out of the machteres. So why is he potter? He's not a rodef anymore. Afal pichenu potter b'lishalem estmei akelim. I don't understand the logic of it, but maybe this has to do with the sugya of someone who stole something and then it went up in value or down in value. And then it was broken, whether he pays kishas hagneva or kishas shviru misa. Hochicha toski devrem sharei im rova poter rak es hashviru b'toch hamachteres im kein yiksha din zeh shedin zeh kvar nemar b'mishnah v'lo yitzok liyom shuv. Okay. However, the Ramah and the Ran, they say that the P'tur only applies to the nezek that was implemented the odo v'machteres. Aval shibra liachar sheyotza chayav b'tashlum. Kevin shekvar poka mimenu chiyuv hamisa. Upiarusha rova sover shemachefetz kayam agan of chayav lashiva lebaila. Muchach shlo kones achefetz mishum kach yesh lechayvo im shiber liachar sheyotza me'amachteres. So do me a favor, John, if you can, remind me that we got up to He'ora Yud Ches. That's where we want to pick it up in Mitzvah Hashem next week. Okay, then? So let me take this opportunity to wish you a great Shabbos. And all should be well. Thank you so much.